Pack your bags, we're headed on a big old ride, with dreams of sunlit shores and the open skies, from the hills of Cyprus to where the world collides.
Ever find yourself scrolling through travel blogs? You know, those ones with stunning pictures, and you're just like, I need to go there.
Oh, absolutely. It's like getting a glimpse into someone else's adventure, right?
Exactly. And today, we're diving deep into one couple's Sydney adventure.
But this isn't your typical travel blog, is it? We're joining Rob and Mandy in 2006 as they document their experiences on their blog, A New Life Planned in Cyprus.
A blog about moving to Cyprus. So what brings them to Sydney?
Well, 2006 is actually right before their big move. Think of it as a pre-Cyprus adventure. And luckily for us, they decided to squeeze in a trip to Sydney.
Ah, Sydney, the Opera House, the Harbour Bridge. Did they hit all the iconic spots?
Oh, they did. But what's fascinating is how they capture those first moments in a new place. That feeling of stepping off a long flight and being completely awestruck.
I can only imagine. After all those hours in the air, to be greeted by the Sydney Opera House and Harbour Bridge.
Exactly. And they don't hold back on the details. They describe the way the sunlight glints off the Opera House sails, the sheer scale of the Harbour Bridge against the skyline.
It's those little details that really paint a picture, isn't it? It's like you're right there with them.
Absolutely. And speaking of painting a picture, they don't just tell you they went to Darling Harbour. They describe hopping on a train, feeling the city buzz around them, and then...
Let me guess, they end up on a harbor cruise.
Spot on. But not just any cruise. Imagine this. A romantic evening cruise, the city lights reflecting on the water, the opera house glowing against the night sky, all while sipping sparkling wine.
Now that's how you do Sydney in style.
Right. They could have stopped there, but they were on a mission. After the cruise, they squeezed in an ice bar, A&D, a Chinese meal, all with a view of the Harbour Bridge.
They certainly know how to pack it all in. But amidst all that, they keep circling back to the Opera House.
It's like this magnetic force for them, this architectural marvel that they've only ever dreamed of seeing in person.
You know, Mandy's words in the blog, they're almost poetic when she describes seeing the Opera House for the first time. It clearly meant the world to her.
It reminds you that travel is about more than just checking things off a list. It's about fulfilling those lifelong dreams, connecting with places on a deeper level.
Absolutely. But their Sydney adventure doesn't stop there. Get ready for Australia Day because things are about to get lively.
Hold on your hats, folks. We're talking parades, food stalls, and even a steak pie shaped like Australia.
Wait, a steak pie shaped like... Okay, you have to tell me more about that.
They dove headfirst into the Australia Day festivities, and Rob, being the adventurous eater he is, couldn't resist trying this unique culinary creation.
Only in Australia, right. But they didn't just spend the whole day indulging in Aussie-shaped pastries. They also headed up the Sydney Tower.
Of course. For those breathtaking panoramic views, they talk about seeing as far as the Blue Mountains, which is pretty incredible.
Almost like a little teaser for the next leg of their journey. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I have to ask about this Oz Trek experience they mentioned. Sounds intriguing.
It's this virtual journey through Australia's diverse landscapes, from the outback to the rainforests. They said it was a fun way to experience the country's vastness, even if just for a little while.
A nice contrast to the bustling city, I imagine. But even in the heart of all the action, they still managed to find moments of peace.
Exactly. They stumble upon Hyde Park, seeking solace by the Archibald Fountain and beneath those massive fig trees. It's like they understand the importance of finding balance, even on vacation.
Finding those little pockets of tranquility can make all a difference. But let's be honest, no Australia Day celebration would be complete without
Fireworks.
Of course. And we're better to watch them than over the iconic harbour.
Talk about a picture-perfect ending to Australia Day. Though this is just the beginning of their adventure, right? Wait until you hear what awaits them in the Blue Mountains.
You know, sometimes after a day packed with sightseeing, I just want to relax and take it easy. But it sounds like Rob and Mandy dove straight into the next adventure. A trip to the Blue Mountains.
They did. But even getting there was an experience in itself. They talk about hopping on a bus and feeling the city slowly fade away as they journeyed into the heart of nature.
Makes you want to ditch the itinerary and just see where the road takes you, right?
Absolutely. Though they did have a plan, at least to start, their first stop. A peaceful coffee break by the Nepean River.
Sounds like the perfect way to start a day trip. Did they mention if they had those little Tim Tams with their coffee?
Oh, I wish. But they do paint a vivid picture of their surroundings. lush greenery, the sound of the river flowing, a sense of tranquility before the real adventure began.
And then it's off to explore the mountains, right? What were some of the highlights?
Well, picture this. They're on the bus, winding through the mountains, and suddenly, bam, they're greeted by these dramatic clouds rising from the Jamison Valley.
Oh, wow. It's like the landscape itself is putting on a show.
Exactly. They said it was this unexpected, almost mystical sight that took their breath away. And speaking of breathtaking, their next stop was Wentworth Falls.
Ah, the waterfalls. Those pictures always look incredible. Did they manage to capture the beauty in their writing?
They really did. They talk about cascading water, lush greenery, the refreshing spray on their faces. You can practically hear the roar of the falls and feel the mist on your skin as they describe it.
It sounds incredible. So did they spend the rest of the day chasing waterfalls, or did they have other stops planned?
Well, after a morning of breathtaking views, they decided to have lunch in the charming village of Laura. You know how much I love those little villages tucked away in unexpected places.
Oh, absolutely. They often hold so much character and charm. What did they think of Laura?
They loved it. They talk about quaint shops, cozy cafes, and a slower pace of life that was the perfect contrast to the bustling city. A great spot for a relaxing lunch and a bit of souvenir shopping, I'd say.
I can already picture those adorable little shops filled with local crafts and treats. But I imagine no trip to the Blue Mountains would be complete without a visit to the iconic Three Sisters, right?
You know it. And of course, Rob and Mandy made sure to tick that off their list. They describe reaching Echo Point and being mesmerized by these three towering rock formations rising from the eucalyptus forest.
The pictures never do it justice, do they? To see something like that in person must be awe-inspiring.
Absolutely. And beyond their sheer size, there's a whole other layer to appreciate the legends surrounding them. They've been a source of fascination and storytelling among the Aboriginal people for centuries.
A good reminder that these landmarks are more than just pretty sights. They hold cultural and historical significance too. But let's be honest, knowing Rob and Mandy, they probably couldn't resist a little more adventure after that. What did they get up to next?
Okay, get this, because this one is wild. They decided to ride the world's steepest train.
Wait, hold on. The world's steepest, like as in how steep?
We're talking a 52-degree incline as they descended into the rainforest. Can you imagine the views? The feeling of your heart skipping a beat as you plunge into that lush greenery.
Oh, wow. Talk about an adrenaline rush. It's a good thing they had that relaxing coffee break earlier. But speaking of incredible experiences, did they have any other unexpected encounters in the Blue Mountains?
As a matter of fact, they did. While exploring the Blue Mountain National Park, guess who they stumbled upon?
Given that we're talking about Australia, I'm going to guess kangaroos.
You got it. And not just in a zoo or anything. Right in their natural habitat. They talk about watching them hop around, grazing peacefully.
It's those spontaneous moments, those unexpected encounters with wildlife that often become the most cherished travel memories.
Absolutely. But as much as they loved exploring the Blue Mountains, remember how captivated they were by the Sydney Opera House? Well, they decided to make a return visit.
Wait, a second visit to the Opera House in one trip. It seems like this place really left a mark on them. 2 visits to the Opera House in one trip.
You know, sometimes I feel like once you've seen the big attractions, you should move on to something new. What made them want to go back?
It's like they couldn't get enough, and I can see why, right? It's such an iconic structure. But this time, instead of that initial awe, they experience it differently.
In what way? Did they actually go inside this time?
They don't mention going inside on either visit, actually. I think they were more captivated by its presence, how it dominates the harbor. This time, they see it from a distance, appreciating how it fits into the cityscape.
Interesting. So instead of the up-close and personal view, they're taking a step back to admire it from afar. Sounds like they were really trying to soak it all in. But they didn't just stay glued to the Opera House this time around, did they?
Not at all. They decided to venture out, explore a different side to Sydney.
Okay, spill the beans. Where did they head next?
Well, they hopped on a ferry to Manly.
Manly, eh? I've heard good things about Manly Beach. And for good reason. But for Rob and Mandy, even the ferry ride itself was an experience. They talk about the fresh sea air, the feeling of the sun on their skin as they glided across the harbor.
Okay, now you're just teasing me. I can practically feel the ocean breeze and hear the sound of the waves. What about Manly Beach itself? Did it live up to the hype?
Oh, absolutely. Imagine this. Golden sand, crystal clear water, and those iconic red and yellow flags fluttering in the wind. They were blown away by the vibrant atmosphere.
It's amazing how a change of scenery, even just a short ferry right away, can feel like a whole new world.
Exactly. And it's not just about the destination, right? It's about the journey, those little moments in between. And for Rob and Mandy, their trip back from Manly becomes one of their most cherished memories.
Really? What made the return trip so special? Was there a pod of dolphins swimming alongside the ferry or something?
Even better. Picture this. The sun beginning to set, casting a warm glow over the city. They're on the deck of the ferry. And as they approach Darling Harbor, the Opera House and Harbor Bridge come into view, silhouetted against the vibrant colors of the sunset.
Wow, it sounds absolutely magical. Those moments when everything just seems to align perfectly, they stay with you forever, don't they?
It's like a picture-perfect postcard, but in real life. And as they describe it, you can practically feel the cool evening breeze, hear the gentle lapping of the waves against the ferry, and see those city lights twinkling to life.
You know, every time we dive into Rob and Mandy's blog, I'm struck by how they capture these sensory details. It's one thing to say, we saw the sunset. It's another to truly transport your reader to that moment.
Exactly. They don't just tell you about their trip. They make you feel like you're right there with them, experiencing it all firsthand.
And isn't that the beauty of travel, really? To collect these moments, these feelings, and carry them with you long after you return home.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up our deep dive into Rob and Mandy's Sydney adventure, I'm reminded of how even a well-trodden path, a city known for its iconic landmarks, can still surprise and delight. It's about approaching each experience with a sense of curiosity and wonder, and being open to those unexpected moments of magic.
Well said. So, to our listeners, the next time you find yourselves daydreaming about a getaway, maybe inspired by a travel blog or a stunning photo, remember Rob and Mandy's adventure. Let it remind you to look beyond the guidebooks, to embrace the unexpected, and, most importantly, to be present in each and every moment, because you never know what gems you might uncover along the way.
A new life plan where we never hide.
Out on the highway, chasing the